Hey everybody, and welcome to episode 35 of the Cityview Sitdown. My name is Douglas Hallam, executive pastor here at Cityview Bible Church in Round Rock, Texas. I'm also the host of the Sitdown, a podcast that we started about a year ago with the start of the COVID-19 pandemic. We really wanted to give an opportunity for folks in our church to stay connected, maybe have a little entertainment through their week, and just some information about the folks at Cityview who make the Cityview family what it is today. And so what we do is we bring different guests on each week and give them a chance to introduce themselves and learn a little bit more about the folks that are part of the Cityview family. So what we ask is all the time that we feel like it's best to get together with folks and learn about them over a cup of coffee, over a breakfast, over a lunch. It's a best opportunity for you, or that provides rather the best opportunity for you to learn about their story, to share your own story, and get to know them and help each other, as the scripture says, to spur each other on toward love and good deeds. And so we think it's a great opportunity to do that. But of course, when we were separated, it was very difficult for us to consider getting together with somebody else. And so we started this podcast. It became such a great thing to do that we thought, well, let's continue to introduce folks. So when Cityview's up and running, the podcast will continue. Because it's really hard in a church that has a family of over 1,200 folks to see somebody across the way and think, well, I see them every week, but how do I get to know them? Well, hopefully we can provide that opportunity for you in a kind of lighthearted conversation. So I'm excited to introduce my friends. A lot of times on the podcast, folks that come on have been here for a long time, all the way back to the YMCA days. Well, I'm happy to introduce a couple this morning to you who have been here just a little while, a couple of years, really almost exactly, they tell me. And so with that, I want to introduce you to my friends Justin Shamel and his wife Tracy Briscoe. Thank you guys for coming on this afternoon to the Cityview. I think I just introduced us as this morning, and now I said thanks for coming on this afternoon. It doesn't matter. You might be listening to this at night. Who cares? We're here. We're going to talk to Justin and Tracy. Thank you guys for coming on.
Yeah, thanks for having us. We're glad to be here.
Yeah, so good to have you guys. It's been so good to work with you guys in different settings here at Cityview. Justin, you and I have had great connections over the worship team for the last couple of years. So grateful for you. So people will see you guys. I know Tracy, they'll see you in the lobby, or they'll see you over in the children's ministry area. Justin, they'll see you on stage. So glad to have you guys to visit with me today. So what I always do when I bring on guests is I say, hey, why don't you introduce yourself to me or to the church family as though you were introducing yourself to somebody in the lobby who didn't know you. And you're just kind of trying to get to know them. Like, how'd you come to Cityview? How long have you been here? What's your family like? Where are you from? All those kind of things that you would normally ask over a cup of coffee by the red stairs. Let's ask this afternoon. So with that, Tracy, why don't you start? Tell us a little about how you guys got here, introduce your family to us, and
absolutely.
Talk a little about yourself.
Yeah, sure. So I'm Tracy, obviously.
That's good.
And we have 4 kids between us. So we have both been married before. So we are officially a step family. Mm-hmm. We have Scarlett, who is 8, McGrath, who is 9, mm-hmm. Caroline, who is just about 16. Mm-hmm. I don't want to say 15, but just about 16. And then William, who is 18 and is about to graduate from high school.
Nice.
So that's a little bit about our family. We started looking for a church where we really felt like we could feed and be fed. So we wanted to be able to be of service to others and also be able to grow spiritually. Mm-hmm. And so we started looking for a church pretty quickly, mm-hmm. And we're driving by this one almost daily, mm-hmm. Picking mm-hmm. up kids from after-school care, taking them back. And I said to Justin, when we were really feeling led to leave our other church, I said, why are we not going to check out Cityview? Like, we see it all the time. Mm-hmm. The kids talk about it all the time. Yeah. So let's go check it out. Yeah. But then I think Justin should probably tell the story about like what kept us here mm-hmm. from pretty much the first time we came.
Yeah, the first time we came, what the sermon was about was, what does it mean to be a church? And so there were 6 things up there, things like we all serve together, we love each other, we challenge each other, a lot of things in the spirit. And I thought to myself, I don't know just from this first time if this church does all of these things, mm-hmm. but just that they're willing to talk about it is enough for me.
Sure.
And so also just the format, I think we were both emotionally moved the first time we were at this church, from the worship experience. And then subsequently, I think it was just shortly thereafter, there was a baptism, our monthly baptism. And just the joy and the celebration I mean, I think we both cried during that baptism. And it was just like, wow, we have to keep coming back to this place.
That's so awesome.
Yeah, and I can't think of a Sunday when we don't leave worship and then look at each other and be like, hey, was he talking directly to me or to you or like what? Because it feels like he's got like whoever it is, right? I mean, the word is here in this church and it's being preached and it's being shared. And like, it's humbling to be like, whoa, this message is for me every time.
For real.
And so that's what brought us here. What brought us together is actually we work for the same company. So we both work for a Whole Foods Market. Yeah. And when we first met, it was when I was interviewing Justin for a job.
Oh, nice.
On a technology team.
Nice.
And we do this big thing at Whole Foods where everything is a group and a team. It's a team environment, so we do team interviews. Okay. So you might walk into a conference room with like 12 to 15 people sitting around a table, just like waiting to ask you, do you like coffee or not? I kid. It doesn't really happen. I mean, it does happen like that, but not the coffee bar kind of. And so I walked Justin out of his interview because our leader at the time had another meeting to go to. And I love how he tells this. Like, he's like, I knew from that moment, like, how strong of a woman you were because you were like, here's what we're looking for in this position. Boom, 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 boom. So fast forward that story, like, 15-ish years. When we were able to express our love and connection for one another, and then it happened almost immediately. We dated for a while and then said, okay, we're, of course, with children, you have to be like aware of what, the impact of bringing another person into their life will have. But God, I just felt led to be with you and to bring our families together.
Yeah, and it was great too because I definitely felt like when she expressed her feelings for me, it took me back to 15 years prior where there was, it was like, this is what we're looking for in this position. And I was like, wow, she wants me. Like, I know she knows what she wants and she wants me. That's really cool. So yeah, it's great.
So you guys have worked together then for quite a while now.
Well, kind of. I joined, so I ended up getting that job. Okay. And I joined the same team, so we were teammates on a technology team. And then I quickly actually went on to accounting at Whole Foods and then went into our purchasing function and data analytics function and then went over to finance. And so we had many years where we didn't even really, we weren't in meetings together, and Whole Foods is big enough where you kind of lose track of each other. And so, then later we came back together and started working a little bit closer together. Yeah. And then now we work in different functions, but it's interesting because we're on the same project right now, but doing different functions. So,
well, and like working from home, the kids in the afternoon when they're home from school, they'll see that he's on a call and I'm on the screen, and then they'll look at me and I'm on a call and he's on the screen. They're like, why are you guys like on different screens? Like, you're in the same meeting. Why aren't you just on the same camera? Yeah. And it's like, well, there's things, right? There's that separation that you have to have
there's
when
that
you're
corporate,
working that.
There's that corporate environment.
Yeah, and I tell you what, the shift to working from home and being at home together all the time definitely makes it different. Like, we have to find a place to just go and be a couple and not be, this person in technology and this person in accounting. Right. We have to go and be, husband and wife and family.
Because I'd assume traditionally you guys work downtown here in Austin at Whole Foods HQ. Yep. Where we've all seen that, or most of us in Austin area have seen that. But I guess last March, a year ago, March or April, they sent you guys all home too, like with the rest of us.
That's right. Yeah, spring break. That never ended. Came home. Right, the spring break. Yeah, I wish the spring break that never ended. We've been in the office off and on some. So our offices are open, right? We want to be in support of our operations. Like, our frontline grocery workers are there, right? Serving and doing their job. And so certainly didn't want to just say like no one can come to the office. So we want to be able to be there and be able to support them when we can.
For sure. For sure. Yeah, we were thinking about that even with this. You heard us last week talk about the gift that we've given to our essential workers around the Round Rock area, and of course we're just a drop in the bucket to the number of essential workers out there. But we've considered and talked to grocery stores because we knew, of course, you guys have been on the front line, and certainly your retail side has been right on the front line for the whole year. And then, gosh, in the last 2 weeks, it's been brutal. The ice shut down, and then the restocking and trying to get back up to speed. I can't imagine. So I know you guys are a little removed from that side of things, but it's awesome to hear you talk about your frontline workers with such affection.
Yeah, there's a part of my teams that support our distribution centers. So the way in which Whole Foods gets all of our fresh produce, seafood, and meat into our stores. So during what we now refer to at Whole Foods as snowpocalypse, we had a period of time where our distribution centers could not communicate with our network, and so we had to figure out, like, how do we get all of these trucks on the road without being able to have access to systems, right? We become so reliant on all of our business processes happen through computers now, and so when that's not available, like, everybody has to buckle down. Unfortunately, we were in Hawaii. Not Hawaii. We were in Mexico at the time. So I'm just like, oh my goodness, like, things are falling apart back home, and our operations to try to get food out to our stores, and it was crazy. I can't imagine how much has been here.
Well, I remember sending a note to the worship team, and Justin responded almost immediately, like, we feel so trapped in Mexico. And I thought, poor Justin. Trapped in Mexico. No, but I understand the feeling, because you're completely like, I know there's this crisis happening, and normally, again, like, you guys are such servant-hearted people, like, let's minister together, let's serve together. But you're stuck in Cancun, wherever you were.
We were there. And that's what happened at our life group last night. They were like, sure, you were stuck there. And I'm like, seriously, like, there were no planes coming in. We ended up, it was crazy, right? Flights kept getting canceled, rebooked. So finally we're like, just get us stateside. So we ended up flying to Houston on the Thursday. There were other popular people coming coming from Cancun to Houston on that day also. Which my mom swears we were on one of those interviews. Different airport.
Different airport, different airline.
Yeah. So Justin's mom and her boyfriend actually came to our rescue. So they live out in Sun City. So they get in this Volvo sport wagon, right? All-wheel drive, right? It's still iced. Everything's iced over here on Friday morning when they come to get us. They show up with a trunk full of sand, extra water, and when I say extra, I mean extra blankets, extra clothes. I mean, they were prepared to
loaded for bear.
It was amazing.
We're gonna make it.
Right? Yes, 70 plus years old.
Oh, that's
and
fantastic.
Here we're calling on them to come and basically bail us out of Houston, and they showed up. So just
because there's no power, there's ice everywhere, there's no water in a lot of places,
and they're like, sure, we can come.
We'll make it.
So to add insult to injury, we had life group last evening, and one of the families in our life group was like, we had a burst pipe, and Pastor Trey came over and helped us fix it. And I'm like, just feeling so much guilt about being in Mexico.
You said, but the water was clear, and snorkeling was amazing. Just kidding. No, I hear you. I have a similar experience from my family, not my personal experience with my family was skiing in Utah the week before. And of course their flight got canceled. And so they were 4 extra days in Utah. So the number of people that just got stuck in places. And of course the joke is, well, I mean, tie me to that pole. I'll get stuck in Utah snow skiing, or I'll get stuck in Mexico. But the feeling of helpless, there's people that I know and love. So anyway, we're glad you're back. Glad you made it.
Yeah, us too.
So, I think probably one of the places that people will recognize your face, Justin, is as part of our worship team playing the bass guitar for us, or the upright bass. And so you've played both for us from time to time. You were on our Christmas special. You've been part of our team. You really started playing with us just before the shutdown, and so then all of a sudden you're also a recording star like the rest of us who suddenly had to start recording our worship services. But tell us a little about your musical background and how you got involved. And it is fun to look at somebody who plays the upright bass and say, let's talk about that for a few minutes.
Yeah. Well, I didn't learn any musical instruments until my mid-30s.
Okay.
So I was intimidated by music. My dad played the organ, and he even played at a lounge across town that had a stage in the basement. And as he began playing, he would come swirling up out of the floor for this like the smorgasbord, and he was fantastic, and he played off of guitar music. So he made up the.
Now, was that lounge here?
No.
You're not from Austin. Okay.
Yeah, I'm from a small town in Indiana.
Because I need to visit this place and see the organ swirling up from the floor.
Yes, with a baby blue suit on and obvious the whole show. But he played from guitar music, and so that's what was in the organ bench. He made up all of the left hand chord movement, all of the bass pedals, and all that, and he just played the melody with his right hand.
Okay,
and so I would sit at the organ and I would try to play, and so I got really intimidated by music because he was so good, and so I finally. Got the gumption to try something. I had a coworker who said, "You seem like somebody that would play music," and I said, "Well, maybe I should give it a shot." So I played bass because it's only 4 strings, so it's got to be easier.
That's right. One note at a time.
Yeah, so I played electric bass and took some lessons.
Yeah,
and then I started playing in bluegrass jams.
Okay.
With the upright, and somebody said, "Oh, you'll be in a band in no time," and I'm like, "Oh, no, I'll never be in a band." Turns out you don't have to be very good to be a bass player in a bluegrass band, and so I made some lifelong friends. Played in a bluegrass band locally here in town for about 5 years.
Okay,
so it was super fun.
Anywhere people can find you playing in the bluegrass band, like can we YouTube it? Can we what can we do?
Yes, there's YouTube. I actually my kids, the grown kids got so proud one time because they said something about Spotify. I said, well. Your dad's on Spotify. I'm on Spotify, and they said, "Really, what's it called?" I said, "Blacktop Bend." That's the name of the band.
Okay.
And so they looked it up, and we had 8 followers. They're like, "We have 8 followers."
I'm not that impressed.
I was so happy that they were impressed. I was on Spotify, only to be brought down by only having eight listeners.
That's funny. Blacktop Bend.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, on Spotify, can they watch something on YouTube? Is it there?
There's probably some stuff on YouTube. Yeah.
All right. Somebody's going to go look up the bluegrass of Blacktop Bend. Do you still play with any of those guys or do any bluegrass jams? We don't do any bluegrass up here, but.
I haven't played bluegrass in a while, although we did have a recent worship song where I noticed on the music it said country feel. So I busted out a little 1-5, 1-5. Nice. And then afterwards she goes, "Wow, you sounded really great on bass."
That's your moment today.
That is awesome. That's awesome. So good. Well, that must have been a Crowder song or something, because from time to time we'll catch some stuff with Crowder. He's gone a little bluegrass from time to time.
Yeah.
So good. So good. And Tracy, you and I have talked, and I don't think we mentioned it while we were recording, but you are serving in the children's ministry downstairs with babies.
Yes.
Yeah. Tell us about it.
Well, I've been in the Lions until we've taken a break.
Yeah.
To try to keep everybody safe. But and I really miss those little guys. So I've got the, from the time that they start walking until like potty train. So it's a pretty fast rotation of kids through there. And then like once they're potty trained, they're across the, they go across the hall. So I miss just like singing songs and reading books.
Yes.
And it's amazing that age. Like they all just like, the attention that you can get from reading a book.
Yes.
So we've got great little books with pop-ups down there. So I miss those guys. Melissa let me know though on Sunday. She's like, got the email coming out.
Right.
We're getting everybody back on schedule, seeing how it goes. So
we're getting the band back together.
Exactly.
That's so good.
That'd be good.
Oh man, can't wait to have those little. You said lions in your arms. Can't wait to have those little lions playing with you again.
Definitely.
So awesome. Hey, let me double back to something that y'all talked about. Like in your journey at work. Like you mentioned that you went from like a information technology kind of role into accounting. And that really speaks to something that you share with me early in our relationship as a church and on the worship team or whatever, that like you're really passionate about Financial Peace University and like really watching the principles that Dave Ramsey has kind of laid out. And so talk a little about that. And I think even at a previous church, you like were an accountant or treasurer, kind of helped out with that stuff. And share a little about your passion for that and how that's played out in y'all's life and, that kind of stuff. Yeah,
I was drowning in debt probably many, many years ago. And I remember thinking about like, I've signed myself up for years and years of working, and this just doesn't feel like. I mean, we live in the United States. Freedom is a big thing, and I just didn't feel very free. And not until years later, we were thrift store shopping, and we found Dave Ramsey's. It was a liter kit.
Yeah.
And I remember it was $10.75.
Yeah.
It was in New Orleans.
At a thrift store in New Orleans.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So we go thrift store shopping all the time, even on vacation.
Everywhere.
And so we bought it, and we sat with the church where I was treasurer, previous to Cityview. We sat with the pastor and a few other interested folks and just previewed the program.
Yeah.
And particular that stood out to me is, and if you've been to FPU, you've heard the Proverbs, the borrower is slave to the lender. And that tied together my thinkings from previously where I was like, this guy, I'm totally on board. And so we began working the program. It's been really, really great for us. We've had a few moments where, it was hard for us, even though once we got out of debt, it was hard. Tracy was really good about like, hey, like we teach FPU and we teach that you should cut up your credit cards, but yet we still have like a credit card that we pay off every month. Like this is incongruent and we're being hypocrites. And it was hard to cut that credit card up, but we did.
So it was an Amazon. It was our Amazon card too. So that was the last one that went.
Yeah.
But I don't know if I can tell a funny story about credit
You can
cards.
tell a funny story.
Okay, so
Aaron can edit anything.
Okay,
so.
I've heard Barry talk about the God Smackdown before.
Yeah.
So we had one of our very own related to Financial Peace University and credit. So we got a Southwest credit card. This was early on in FPU. We got a Southwest credit card, like get all the miles, companion pass from the beginning. So we're like, yes. So we used this card to book a trip out to North Carolina. And we have a flight that goes from Austin to Atlanta to our destination. And so we're at the airport in Austin. We're sitting there, and it's pouring down rain. I'm like, I think we're not going to make this flight. Like, it's not going to happen. And so, sure enough, like they start delaying. And so we're like, we're not making our connection at Atlanta. And it was like the last one out of Atlanta. So we checked at that point, no more out of Atlanta. So we decide we'll fly to Atlanta, and then we'll rent a car and drive the rest of the way, which is like it was like 6 hours.
6 hours.
Yeah.
So we do all that. We're driving at like in the early AM, like dark 30.
Sure.
And we see, like, I look up and like see this flashing light, like a billboard. And then because I'd been laying back, kind of sleeping, and I look up and I look at this, and I'm like, I think this is our Godsmack moment. Like, we're getting the smackdown. Like, what were you thinking about?
Oh
like,
my gosh.
You shouldn't have gotten that card.
Yes.
Like this is the sign to you. Like, get back on track. So we immediately got rid of that card.
Wow.
And we're like, okay, we have to be congruent. Like, we have to be true to what we want to teach other people.
Sure.
And the freedom that they can have. Like, it cannot be incongruent in that way.
Yeah.
So that was the last we saw of a credit card.
Wow. Congratulations. That's awesome. Yeah, so you guys have actually helped teach FPU in a couple of different environments, including here at Cityview most recently, helping work with Mike Knipstein, who was on the podcast about a month ago, talking to us about like his passion for Financial Peace University. And so I'm certain, just like I said to Mike, I'm certain that will come up again, especially as we get out of pandemic mode. There's bound to be lots of folks who have like really tapped that Amazon card while they've been at home and might need some help. And so just take a minute, and both of you like encourage the congregation, encourage our folks about what they should do, what should they look for. And I know you guys well enough to know that if somebody called us, I could send them to you to have a phone call. And so by all means, like reach out to us if you're in financial crisis, and we'll get you connected with Mike and Heather, or we'll get you connected with Justin and Tracy and get you fixed up. But yeah, encourage the congregation for a minute about what that's meant for you to be free, and encourage the congregation what they should think about in these coming days as, stimulus checks start arriving, as pandemic mode kind of ends. How should people be thinking about their finances right now?
Yeah, I'll start pretty simplistically, and then Justin can go into the nerd side of it.
I love it.
In FPU, the very first thing you learn about is in a couple, there's usually a nerd and then a free spirit. So the nerd is they prepare the budget, they're keeping track of everything, and the free spirit's I think I'm going to go get my nails done, even though that's not the budget kind of thing.
Free spirits rule. That's all I have to say. Free spirits are amazing.
So there's that, right? Very spontaneous, which fits me perfectly. So here's what I'll say. You're not alone, right?
Yeah.
The debt is everywhere.
Yeah.
People are swimming in it. They're up to their eyeballs, and not just credit card debt. What we've seen is a lot of hospital debt, which is just heartbreaking, right? I mean, when you just those bills can rack up so quickly. And then car debt, and then house, all of it has a place, but you're not alone, and there are folks that can really help you. And the first step is getting a little bit of savings set away, right? There's baby step, the baby steps that you get taught, and then it's just taking that first step, and then also putting together a budget.
Yeah.
Putting together a budget and staying with a budget is critical. You can't be successful in the give, save, spend if you can't create a budget.
Yeah, that's right.
But then foundationally, it's all God's money, right?
So good.
We are all just here to make sure it's used in accordance to His will. And so the tools in financial peace and other, faith-based programs for financial management, they'll give you the tools that you need.
Sure.
It's start small. Don't worry about I can never do this, because people have paid off hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars of debt.
That's right.
Right.
That's right.
It's amazing what they can do. And then just starting with your 10% giving in the give part, whether it's to your church or a local organization, just those very small steps. And if you guys want to know more about them, of course, figure out how to get in touch with us, and we'd love to talk about it more. That's kind of a heartbreaking thing about COVID is we had just started a class last year, and we were about four classes in, and then we had to stop it. Yeah. So I'm looking forward to a time when we can pick some of that back up, figure out how to do it virtually or whatever.
Well, and before you jump in, Justin, one thing that you mentioned, Tracy, that I maybe you'll talk about this too, but is just the heartbreak of people who are in debt for sometimes things they couldn't control, like medical debt. One of the things I remember about the program and about walking through it with people is Dave does a really good job through his program and through the teaching of his organization of helping you understand how to negotiate debt too. So it's not just hey, dollar for dollar, you got to pay this back. There's ways that folks can talk to you guys, talk to the Kempsteins, talk to us, talk to folks about how we can help you negotiate some of those debts. It was surprising to me even to learn hospital debt, medical debt can be negotiated, and we can work well to make that stuff go away faster than you think it can. Because to your point, you can get out of hundreds of thousands of dollars of debt. It takes steps. That's the old, you eat an elephant one bite at a time. And so baby steps is a good model. But anyway, I just wanted to acknowledge that what you're saying is absolutely true. It's heartbreaking to feel crippled under medical debt, but we can help with that. We've got ways we can help, and phone calls that we can help you learn how to make, and negotiation tactics we can help you with, and the whole thing. So anyway, I just wanted to add my affirmation to what you're saying. But you speak on the nerd side a little bit, because we free spirits can spend like crazy, can't we?
Yeah. I think I can be really nerdy about this stuff, number one. But I think one of the things is compassion that I think is really, really important, because one of the things we like to do when we open a course is create a safe place. Don't hide, don't feel shameful. And we started off with something really funny, which is two truths and a lie, where I share 3 foolish things that I've done with money, and you have to pick out the lie.
Yeah.
The sad part is 2 of them are true, and they're really, really foolish. They're really big things.
Yeah.
Including cashing out a retirement fund. That's one of the choices. And so, I think I carried also being an accountant and not being good with money. I think I carried some shame in that
Sure.
For a while. And so that's the big thing. I think Tracy hit some of the nerd points, like keeping a budget. I'm just a rock star right here, right? But yeah, keeping a budget. I would encourage you just to start, especially if you're not ready to, given the pandemic that we're in, if you're not ready to engage, podcast. Dave has a daily podcast.
That's right.
That's great to listen to.
That's right.
Start getting some of the principles down. The website is also very informative. There's a lot of stuff out there that's just free. And also, if you're having a hard time, there's scholarships available for the course. The course is usually, I think, $199 or something like that. But just if you need help, reach out. We'll get you there.
Yeah, well, I agree with that, and I would say, just by way of encouragement, and I think you guys would agree with this, just be careful. Like I mentioned something in passing about there's some stimulus checks that are going to be coming. Yeah. Be real careful right now not to see that necessarily as a windfall. Like if you need some, like a savings account, put some money in a savings account.
Absolutely.
If you need something, like see this as a gift from the Lord and set it aside and hang on to it, and make sure that like that little emergency fund that he talks about in step 1 is there for you. And so that's a challenge that I think we can all remember. I remember a year ago when the first round of stimulus rolled out, we said that very similar thing. Some of you may find you need this right now. Well, use it, but put some of it aside so that like emergencies don't quite seem as big anymore. Yeah. It was a big principle in the FPU program. So again, I know you guys are going to teach that. I know you guys are going to be right back into shepherding families through good financial use of good use of financial resources. Yeah. And so I sure appreciate you guys doing that. It's really helpful. Just encourage you guys.
Thank you. It's good for us too because it keeps us grounded.
Yeah.
In the program. Justin has a lot more peace about money. Than I've ever seen. Certainly growing up and some of the things that you had happen during your childhood with bankruptcy and late night moves and just that like fear that at any moment the bottom's going to drop. So getting those emergency funds set up and like getting that peace with it, so that then you can give with an open heart. So it allows that to happen too.
Yeah, that's good. Well, hit me with because you guys have been you're saying you're talking about like without credit cards, debt free. You're talking about like you still go thrift storing. You still shop at the thrift store, which is fantastic. So my curiosity is like anytime I go into a thrift store, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is all terrible stuff. But undoubtedly, you guys have had some pretty fun finds at a thrift store.
Oh yeah.
So hit me with some of your favorite finds at a thrift store that you're like, oh, this is. I mean.
Yeah,
of course, aside from Dave Ramsey, because
we found that.
That was a great $11 purchase.
I mean, I'm trying to think. There's some. I mean, like, okay, so seriously, everything that you see on me is from a thrift store.
Wow.
These shoes. These are little Tom's shoes, little booties.
Yeah.
These jeans. This shirt.
Yeah.
Justin's saltwater shirt.
Yeah.
These jeans.
Gap jeans for
$6.99. We splurged on those boots.
We did splurge on some Tacovas.
But so there's just a ton of things. My wedding ring is actually secondhand.
Wow.
It has a hilarious story that goes along with it about a boat show. We were at a boat show in Annapolis, and
oh my gosh,
this jeweler out there needed to hawk a ring because he got remarried, and his wife, who was also working the booth, is just like, it's got to go because he made it for his previous wife. So it's just like one thing after the other.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you the thing I got really excited about is we were over in Hutto at the Goodwill, and they used to, before the COVID pandemic, they used to do live auctions. And we rarely go to the live auctions because you never know where things are going to land. But this particular one, we just happened to be in the store, and I'm like, I think that's a Louis Vuitton Speedy bag up there, like it's super old. I said, I think that's actually real because we see a lot of stuff that's not legit, especially in the handbags. And so I'm like, I think we should, let's try to see. So we ended up getting that thing for $53. And it's just the cutest little thing.
Yeah.
So that's one of my favorite treasures, I would say.
That's so awesome.
But yeah, I mean, we like, the kids might hate me for saying this, but like we like our children dressed from secondhand.
Yeah.
Like, you know how fast kids go through shoes and
yeah.
pants and
That's good.
all these things. And so now they're totally into it. And estate sales. Estate sales is our other big thing.
Okay.
So now when we get up on Saturday mornings, the kids are like, okay, so what do the estate sales look like for today? How many Goodwills do we think we can hit? That's what we call it. How many can we hit? Like, we're getting such a steal, right? We're gonna hit the Goodwills. But what's your favorite thing?
I was just trying to think through all the stuff. Some stuff I've resold on eBay, and some of the things are pretty crazy.
Yeah.
Like I found a 1950s ukulele.
Okay.
That was worth a couple $100. Gave $4 for it.
Wow.
What was that? Was it a trumpet? Yeah,
That was when we went, and we were in Amarillo when we found that.
Yeah, Amarillo. We were on vacation in Amarillo. We hit up this thrift store, and I found this old trumpet that was in really good condition. It was made in the U.S. It was an Olds super trumpet.
Oh wow.
And it was from 1944, like
Yeah.
dating back the serial number. It was right around Pearl Harbor.
Wow.
I mean, like, made right around there.
Wow.
And I thought this trumpet is great.
Yeah.
Well, it had a couple of old mutes in it for the front.
Yeah.
Turns out the 3 mutes that were in it went for over $350, and the trumpet went for $300, and I think I paid $75 for the trumpet. So.
Wow.
No, was it?
I can't remember.
But yeah, so I like to turn a profit. You know, being an accountant, I like to turn a profit every now and again. And
Yeah, we at one point we thought we would open up an eBay store called Where's Worth Wanting.
Okay.
And so we were focusing on clothes, men's shirts in particular. But I tell you what, that was a lot of work. We got the mannequin, we got the whole thing, but then we had to iron them all and get them all perfect, just perfect, and all the pictures and all, so that we were like, maybe that's not for us. So that was we kind of dabbled.
Well,
I found out we had a lot of
doing
competition too, because
Yes.
we'd see the same folks at the same places.
Well, and I know my kids are going to hate me for saying this, but my boys are getting into Pokemon right now.
Oh, yeah.
And so they are absolutely convinced with every card that this one is worth something. And so we're having to have a real strong lesson every week about, okay, it's worth it because you want to play it. You have to have a buyer for it to be worth anything. And so having this conversation and talking about opening an eBay store, and no, we're not going to do that. The amount of work involved in doing all that.
So this reminds me of a story, speaking of having a buyer.
Yeah.
So when William and Caroline were younger, Caroline used to take cards from William that he would give her. So William is the older. Mm-hmm. And then she would keep them for a little while and then sell them back to William until Mom and Dad busted that scam right out of the water.
This is not right.
But we laugh about that a lot
funny.
because we're always like, "What's going on with Caroline?
Yeah.
Because is she trying to trade up for something?
gosh.
What's happening
So
right
funny.
now? Yeah,
So funny.
Yeah. So like, if your kids listen to this, I don't know if they get any bad ideas.
Oh my
from
gosh.
Trying to sell cards to one another.
Listen, it's the hardest thing in the world to explain to the kids that we came up in the Beanie Baby world, right?
Oh, yeah.
Where Beanie Babies were going to be your next $1 million when they all got expensive, and it never is going to be that. And so, trying to convince a kid of that though, that watches YouTube and sees this is a first edition. What does that even mean? What does that mean? I keep saying, no, it's not. I'm like, no, it is. It's really not. I really promise it's not. So, too funny. No, that's awesome that you guys. Those are some fun stories. I know you guys have some stuff coming up. I know you're RVers.
Mm-hmm.
We are. Yeah.
So you just recently took an RV trip.
No, we leave Saturday morning at dark 30 for Disney World.
For Disney, okay.
Yeah.
Going to Florida in the RV.
Have
you watched that movie?
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Okay,
RV
all right.
RV's
So we
great,
do
yeah.
too. We watch it all the time.
But yeah, it was walking in and hearing Pastor Keith talk about just being at Disney. I'm like, oh, this is great. He's got
That's
all
awesome.
kinds of tips
Yeah,
about
yeah.
the rides to take at Animal Kingdom.
Yeah.
It's great. So yeah, we're headed out It'll be 2 days out.
Yeah.
Pulling over, staying in a Cracker Barrel, and
Yeah.
and
That's so great.
yeah.
Yeah, our kids are after Sunday morning.
Cracker
our
Barrel
kids
and
were
Walmart.
like, so if Pastor Keith can fly with 6 kids, how come we're going in an RV? I'm like, oh, come on now. Because last year we bought an RV right after COVID because we had a big family trip. We call the 6-pack. So we called the 6 of us as a 6-pack trip.
Yeah.
So the 6 of us were supposed to go on a big family vacation. And of course it got canceled.
Yeah.
So we're okay, we get all the money back. And we're like, look, we have our travel budget for the year.
Yeah.
There's no way we're using it on planes, trains, and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So let's just go take a little peek at an RV. Let's see what that would be like.
Yeah.
So we found a great used one that we fell in love with. It was supposed to sleep 8. So sleep 8 means 2 adults and 6 kids under 4.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so it was so we took it out for the first time,
tight.
all of us, yeah. And I mean, it's wall-to-wall air mattresses, and we couldn't even make coffee. Like we had to have the coffee pot outside of the RV. So fast forward to July, and we're like, we should get a bigger RV. And so what do you know? Just up the street from us on Redbud, a husband and wife are selling their RV because their kids have outgrown it. And so we get the little kids and we go up there and we're like, we're just looking.
Yeah.
We have an RV already. We're not buying this one. This is not how this is going to go. We're just looking because we want to see how the bunkhouse model works, if it's enough room for all of us.
Yeah.
So next thing you know, we bought it.
Driving home
Right?
in
The
RV.
kids are like, what do you think? Do you like it? Are we going to buy it? What do you think? So all of that worked out. But we actually decided to take our funds and put them into the RV so that we could save money when we went to Disney.
Yeah.
Because we had it just was going to cost a ridiculous amount of money for us to go to Disney the way we wanted to go.
Yeah.
And Disney actually has a Fort Wilderness resort. So it's there on Disney. And so I'm really looking forward to it. So so basically this has been our plan for the whole year. So it's like finally happening.
Yeah, now it's happening
on Saturday.
Yeah. So awesome.
Yep. So when we our married name together, which is like I don't know, like in the day it was like Jennifer Aniston and Brad Pitt was like Bennifer.
Like
no, not that couple, but anyway. So our combined name is Shabrisco. CHOBRISCOE.
Okay.
And the kids are totally into it. So now we all have sweatshirts, hoodies that say "The Adventures of the Shabriscos,"
That's so
and then
great.
it's got this giant RV on it. So that was a gift to the kids for Valentine's Day.
That's fantastic.
So we're all gonna rock those on our
because when
RV
the
adventures.
Chamels and the Briscoes come together, you get the Shabriscos.
Yes.
I love it.
Exactly.
I love it.
Yeah.
Y'all are you're gonna wear all the shirts together so you can spot each other at Disney. You need masks that say Shabrisco across.
Totally.
them.
That would be good. Yeah.
It's too funny. It's too funny. And tell me what's going on coming up, because coming up is something that I just heard a little bit of one night at worship rehearsal or something, worship up here or something. Are you sailing somewhere?
Yeah. So we started sailing. Another interesting story. So we went to South Padre. I think it was South Padre, and we rented a tandem bike. To get around, and so we're
a tandem bicycle.
Yeah, bicycle.
Okay, that's you got to get me to sailing from tandem bicycle.
Yeah.
I had to say, wait a minute, hang on.
This is an important part of the story to know. We flew down there.
Yeah.
And then we didn't get transportation. We just got this tandem bike. I'm like, wherever we need to go, we can go on this tandem bike.
Yeah.
Except to get to this
South
sailboat.
Padre is pretty
Yeah.
small.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we go, and it starts raining. So we duck into a coffee shop.
Yeah.
And we're sitting there, and then there's this beautiful poster across on the wall of this fabulous sailboat.
Yeah,
It says,
yeah.
"I'll take you sailing." So we call the guy, and I was like, "Hey, can you come and pick us up?" And he shows up in a '80s conversion van.
Oh, nice.
She sits in the back seat. It wasn't even bolted down.
It's just one seat. And I sit down and I'm like, oh.
And he's like, "Yeah, I just bought this last week. I haven't bolted the seat down yet." And so,
And I'm thinking, we're never coming back.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
Like, this is it.
Yes, this is.
so he starts
where we
heading
go.
out of town, and I'm like, this is certain death.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
we're
yeah,
never coming back.
yeah.
And so he pulls into a neighborhood that had a canal, and so we get in a sailboat, and he said, "So it's a little windy. Not sure this is going to work out." And
This is a sailboat.
yeah.
I thought that was prerequisite.
So he's like, we'll try, and we could. His little sailboat couldn't even get out into the
gosh.
bay.
Yeah.
And so it was a failed trip, and but that sparked this thing, and so I took some sailing lessons out on Lake Travis.
Okay.
And then the capstone course was a trip to the British Virgin Islands.
Okay.
To learn to sail a big catamaran.
Okay.
And
Okay.
so Tracy went with me, and we had a great time. And so we're headed back this May.
Nice.
With 3 groups of friends. So it's 4 cabins.
Yeah.
On this boat, and we're gonna sail around the BVI
Nice.
for 8 days. 8 days, I think. Yeah.
That's so exciting. That's really cool.
It's part of our bigger kind of partial retirement dream. So we have this early retirement fantasy. So part of financial peace is you get to dream big, right?
Yeah,
so
yeah,
if you
yeah.
like, what does life look like for you? Is it a cabin in the woods? Is it a boat in the middle of the islands? What does that look like? So when we did that, we decided once we get the kids out and into college, all 4 of them, then we're going to take 5 years. We're going to sell things here and then go and sail around for 5 years. So we were trying to get some practice in
Yeah.
before we go and legit
for
do
sure.
this all the time.
For sure. Oh my gosh, that
Yeah.
sounds so amazing. And I guess RVing kind of builds that ability to live in a small space into you. So over
Yeah.
time, hey, I'm ready for this. I can live on a sailboat for a little while.
Yeah.
Yeah, it
cool.
builds up Justin's ability to fix things too.
Oh, well, I was gonna
because
say,
that's what
yeah.
you have to be self-sufficient on a boat. Like you gotta, like if the generator goes out, if things stop working, then you got to fix it yourself pretty much.
Well, my parents have a big RV. They've got the big Class A 45-footer, like big guy, and it's great. It's awesome, but it is constantly something you're having
Yeah.
to fix,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
little thing here,
Little
the little
things.
hydraulic over there,
Yeah.
a little slide out button over here. It's always a little something.
Yeah.
So I'm sure that's you got to enjoy that.
Yeah.
But if you do, it can be awesome. So
Yeah.
it looks awesome.
Yep.
Excited to hear about your trip to Disney next week and
Yeah.
how things went. So thank you guys for coming in.
Yeah,
Thanks for
you
spending
bet.
some
Thanks
time
for
with
having
me.
us.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks for your service to Cityview, the ministry that you do on stage with we didn't even mention your small group. You guys lead a small group together, and
Yeah.
appreciate you guys doing that. And you mentioned it when you were talking about them shaming you over Pastor Trey having to fix their house, but I would take no shame in that at all. If I could have avoided the -3 degrees, then I'd have been right there with you. So anyway, thank you guys for that. Hey, we're going to wrap up with that and say thank you guys for joining us again, episode 35. Look forward to bringing you another interview next week. Thanks so much for joining us. If you see Justin and Tracy around on a Sunday morning, will you please just stop and talk to them and tell them thank you for their service and ask them about Financial Peace University. If you have questions about Financial Peace, call me, call us at the church office. We can connect you with somebody. Again, really listen, we can help you with resources, and you don't have to struggle alone through debt or through crippling financial problems. We really can help, and so we'd love to have some opportunity to do that. With that, we say goodbye. We love you. God bless. We'll see you next week on another episode of the Cityview Sit Down.